Good morning friends, Diana here from Garden Love. Today I want to give you guys a quick update on all my fruit trees that are in container. As you guys know, most of my trees have been in containers, growing successfully, growing and producing fruit. I want to give you guys a little tour of all my fruit trees before spring comes up. As you can see here, this is my Guava, pineapple Guava. It's in desperate need of water, which is fine. I'm going to bring it some water. Most importantly, it needs to go in the ground. This is one of the trees that I've noticed that will need more space. So I either have to upgrade the container into a wine barrel or I'll have to put it in the ground. In this case, since I do have property to do it with now, I'm going to put it in the ground. So that's why it's so close to the end of my, where I'm going to put it. This is my blood orange. As you guys can see, it fruited some oranges and it would have had more if it wasn't because we moved it. There's two here. It would have definitely had more fruit, but we moved today. The water maintenance was not as persistent as I normally am, so for that reason we didn't get as much fruit. But I definitely have the tips to have your fruit trees succeed in fruit, and I'm going to be making some videos on the breakdown on what I suggest you need to do to have successful fruit trees growing in containers. That was my blood orange. Let's go look at my absolutely favorite Loquat tree. It's in a wine barrel. This one is also going to be growing in the ground. So for now, I'm going to let it fruit. Last year it fruited. This is the second or third year fruiting. As you can see there, it has some of this fruit. It was a seedling. This is a golden nugget. And hopefully this video encourages you guys to grow things in containers, because it's definitely possible. You can do it. There's many ways to do it. I have a method that I've done and I've succeeded growing fruit trees in containers. So let me keep showing you guys. This is one of the trees that has shown me the most. This is my Eureka lemon. Usually the lemons get a lot bigger than that, but once again, we're talking about consistency of fertilizer and watering, and I'll talk to you guys about that in a separate video. For now, I want to give you guys a tour of my fruit trees growing in containers, successfully growing fruit. Look at that. Now we're gonna come over here really quick, and I'm going to show you my Kumquats. These are great for containers. So if you guys are not sure what to get and you guys like Kumquats, these are definitely ones that I recommend for you guys to grow in containers. I've had this for several years. In these containers, I only taken them out of the container once to refresh it, and they continue to thrive. Look at that. It's actually time to start harvesting these. That way the tree can focus on its new flowers that it's about to have and fruit. Some of my trees are going to look a little bit down because they went through a little adjustment process when we went ahead and moved over here just a couple months ago, and we need to set them up in a regularly water schedule, which is very important when it comes to growing in containers, and fertilizer schedules. Like I said, I'll bring that separately. For now, here we are. This is actually my pink Eureka lemon. This is the one I purchased, purchased from the Big Box store. The one I air layer from my fruit tree, which is the twin of this, same thing, is actually doing much better than this one. So I'll show you guys briefly. Unfortunately, I do have all my trees spread out, so this might be a long video. I'll walk over here and show you. These have been neglected so much because they're at the furthest end of my property and they have not been getting enough water. As you can see, look at that. They're not doing that great, but now that I've gotten somewhat organized, I'm going to be moving them near the greenhouse, and I'm going to be bringing water over there, and that way whenever I am going to water, I'm going to water everything all at once. I do got to say these are going to be going in the ground because they're going to be part of my edible landscape. Anything that's used for the kitchen, kind of like my Eureka lemon, my Meyer lemon, my key lime, which are these two, are going to be surrounding my edible garden, because I want it to be more like a kitchen garden where you can basically go to this section of my property and get some, let me turn around, go to this section of my property and actually get almost everything that you need to cook with, because I think that would be amazing. And that's what I'm going to do. So those trees, even though they look a little sad right now, I'm not too concerned. I know I'm going to prep the soil and do everything to get them ready for their new place, and they're going to be just fine. Now let me show you over here. This is my pink Guava. Another thing, like I mentioned, when we were moving, this one requires tons of water, and if you're not watering over the summer during very hot days, weeks, you are going to get very dry leaves, and eventually all the leaves are going to fall off. All the leaves fell out, and I wasn't stressed out about, because I knew that once we moved here they were going to come back, and as you can see, they are coming back. This one's also going in the ground. Guava is another tree that requires tons of water if you're going to be growing it in container. Tons of water. I have gotten fruit from this. I'm expecting to get fruit from it this year as well. As long as you get into a watering schedule, fertilizing schedule, and they're in the right pot, you guys should be great. And guavas are one of those fruits that can grow in containers, but they will need tons of water, especially if they're growing in containers. And furthermore, once they're ready to be up potted, this one's definitely ready to be up potted. You can see that it's kind of oval. The pot is oval, and that's because the roots are kind of shaping that. And I'm pretty sure once I pull that out, it's going to be completely root bound, and it's going to be very happy to be in a new container or in the ground. Now let's walk over here. Let me show you guys. This is my weeping mulberry. These are also going to be going in the ground, and they haven't break dormancy, and I think it's mostly because they're sitting here in the shade. I'm going to be putting them in the ground here shortly, so I'm very happy about that. Here's another one. You guys know how in love I am with the weeping mulberry. It's actually in a huge container. It's a crate. If I had to guess how many gallons this is, I definitely would go with 35 to 45 gallons. It's a pretty good size container. And this, if you guys keep upgrading your trees to container, this would be probably the best size for a much bigger tree. Now this is my Meyer lemon. As you guys can see, it has fruits despite the neglect I've given all my trees this year, and that's because when I planted them in the container, I set them up for success with the right soil, with the right amendments, right draining holes, and in the right location. Look at that, it's getting new sprouts. So if you guys haven't seen my videos on potting fruit trees in container, I highly suggest you guys go look, because I want you guys not to get discouraged from getting fruit trees if you don't have the space. Trust me, I didn't always have the space, so I had to do what I had to do, and I started growing fruit trees in containers, and that's how I learned how to take care of these trees, how to amend them, and what to do with them. This is a angel red pomegranate that has been growing in this container for quite some time. It's giving me fruit, and what was lacking in my old place is sun. Yes, my baby.
Can I change?
Yeah. It was lacking sun because I was squishing so many plants in my small space that not every spot that I would put my fruit trees was getting the full sun that the plant required to have, or at least minimal. And I feel that this plant's going to be here for a while until I decide where to put it. I feel that it's going to get plenty of sun here because I already see some buds, and we're going to get fruit from it. So I still have my sugar canes growing in container. I have my mulberry growing in this container, which also needs to be upgraded. It's been there quite a few years. I have a grape. I have a fig that's about to break dormancy. These were actually cuttings that I got from my neighbor, and as you can see, they're still growing and thriving. This is my amazing let me see, I want to make sure I get the right name, because I was going to call them finger limes, but Australia dwarf, yeah, finger limes. And I definitely want to put this in the ground, but I'm going to have to do some more research about this one, because I noticed that, it likes a lot more heat, and it's very doesn't like the frost, cold winter. So I'm gonna have to decide what to do with this one. It needs to be up potted, so maybe I can share my routine on how to up pot a tree with this finger lime once I offload some of those trees into other parts of my property, and then I'll have more pots to do it with. This is another Snow Queen Angel Nectarine. Super delicious fruit. Definitely needs to be up potted if I decide to keep it in a pot. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the ground. And I need to start doing this pretty quick. I need to decide where I want my stone fruits to go. But as you can see, they're growing in containers. This is a seedling that's growing in a container. This was also a cutting that I received from Charles from Ivy Organic. I got a cutting that big. It actually is down below. It was this piece, and it sprouted a piece from below, and it's become this ginormous tree that I'm gonna have to put in the ground and eventually probably grab some different varieties on there. I've collected tons of aloe veras from my containers. I have the goji berry. Now, I haven't received any fruit from this. It definitely needs to be potted, but for now, it's doing okay. This is another pomegranate that was gifted to me. I love it so much because it's growing as a tree form, which is very rare to see in pomegranates. Usually you see all these little sprouts. I'm not going to allow these to come out. I'm going to keep it as a tree form, and I'm going to find a perfect place to it. One of my trees that I feel I'm not giving up on it just yet. I don't know if you guys can see. This is my Laura Bay. The move really didn't do good for my Laura Bay. It's not looking very well. I might up-pot it and see what I can do to save it, but as you can see, it's not very happy. Well, guys, you win some and you lose some. What can you do? My blueberries are over here. As you can see, they're growing. We have some flowers and they're doing good. They haven't died down. Like I mentioned, when it comes to container gardening, one of the most important things is putting consistent watering, because that way your tree is not constantly going into shock, stressed out, looking for water, looking for fertilizer. You know, it's very important that you have consistent watering so it can focus on its other thing. This is my kaffir lime. This is actually grown in India. They use it for cooking. It has a lot of medicinal purposes, and it has supposed to have a lot of good stuff in these leaves that you can cook with for your soup, for your rice. I usually put this in my rice. And this is definitely going to go on my edible hill because, like I mentioned, it's something that you can cook with. So I want to make sure that we use it. The little limes aren't very useful. They don't taste that good. So these are mainly grown for the leaves. Well, guys, oh, we have company here. Hey, girls. And there's our rooster. And here's the other one. She doesn't want to be left out. She wants to be part of the party. Well, guys, I wanted to give you guys an update. I hope I covered most of my trees. Actually, no, I didn't cover most of my trees. Let's talk and walk. I have some already lined up to where I'm going to put them in my fruit orchard, and I'm going to share with you guys where that's going. I've been growing them in containers for quite some time, and now that I have the space, I'm gonna put them in the ground. I actually have put a few in the ground, and I'm hoping for the best. I can't wait to get fruit for my kids. What I'm going to do is just gradually upgrade my trees. So what I'm going to do is bring some home. Some of them are going to go in the ground right away because I think they'll do good. Some of them, if I buy them too small or grow them from seeds. There's a sneak peek. I'm going to talk to you guys about this project that I have going on. This is actually where I'm going to be growing all my edible plants. You know what, I'll do a separate video and I'll release that video before I release this video, so that way you guys can see this now that you guys saw it in this video. I'm going to be putting my kitchen fruit trees right over there, and they're going to be part of my edible landscape where I'm going to be growing my vegetables, basically everything that I want. I'm going to be growing hummingbird patch, a bee patch, a butterfly patch, and a vegetable patch all in one, and I can't wait to share that with you guys, but I'll do a separate video on that. Here is the other pink Eureka lemon that I mentioned. This one was an air layer from a neighbor that I had a couple years ago, and as you can see, it is doing so much better than the other one. I'm super thrilled to have it here. This might be one of the trees that goes in the ground because I think lemons and limes are like one of the most important things to have for your kitchen. At least I cook just about everything with lemon and limes, anything that's citrus. Here's my little monkey. She's trying to climb her cage. Your little monkey, Lily? And here is my white fig. There is some damage on it because we had some frost. Actually, we had a hailstorm, and this is what happened. It started blooming. California is pretty crazy because you're gonna hurt yourself. Careful. There, I'm sorry. You okay? Okay. California goes from super hot to super cold, rain and super dry. It just goes crazy. So it started leafing out, and as you can see, the hailstorm really did a number on it, but it's okay. Figs are troopers. They survive almost anything, and it's going to do just fine. You can see that I whitewashed it with Ivy Organic, with their Ivy Organic whitewash paint. It's done a fantastic job at protecting my figs, especially because they lose their leaves. It did the same thing for my Snow Queen. I'm gonna have to redo that. I ran out of time this year. I might be too late, but I highly recommend, if you guys still have the opportunity to whitewash your trees, I would suggest that you look into Ivy Organic product. It's organic, and it has some other stuff that helps your trees by repelling any nasty little critters or even deers, rodents, many things that are beneficial for your tree. But as you can see here, oh my god, there's a bee there. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this one gave me so much fruit last year. I was so happy. This is one of the ones that I want to put in the ground just because I love the fruit. If I love the fruit, I'm gonna have to just put it in the ground because I want to have an abundance of fruit so I can share with family and friends. This is my 3-in-1 peach. The fruit is good, but I do have to say that this is competing way too much with the rest of the grafts, so this produces much more fruit. The other one, if I had a tip to give you guys, if you guys are looking for a 3-in-1, you guys are going to want to shop. At the time I didn't pay much attention to this, but you guys are going to want to shop that the grafts that you guys, you know, the 3 varieties that you're getting, or 4 varieties, whatever varieties that you get, that they are about the same size, not that one's thinner than the other one. This one back here didn't even make it, so I ended up leaving it there because I was using it as something to tie down, something to hold the fruit with, so kind of like a stake. So highly suggest, if you buy 3-in-1, to make sure that the grafts that they got, put it with different varieties that they're about the same size, because you don't want what happened to this. Quite frankly, this is one of the disappointment trees that I've gotten, because look at how it's growing. See this branch? It's pretty much overgrowing and casting shadows on the other 2 varieties, which is not a good thing. Eventually, I have a feeling that this is going to take over the whole tree, but we will see. What I haven't done that I should have done is basically cut it down, like right there, and let the other 2 catch up. But with all the projects that I have going on, I just haven't had a chance. Well, this is my jujube tree, guys. It's starting to sprout. This year it's gonna blow up, and I just know it, because it's gonna get a lot more sun, which is what it needs and deserves, which is one thing that I couldn't provide in my other property. This right here is my Stella Rosa cherry growing in a container. The roots are so ginormous that when we took it, we had to pull it out of the water. Had to pull it out of the ground, because there was one tat root growing way down, and it was pretty much growing in the ground and in a container. So yeah, these are some of the trees that I'm going to be putting in the ground. That's why they're lined up right here, ready to go. This is my nopales, my cactus, and I'm going to be putting those in the ground as well. As you can see, it dropped one. I should actually pick that up and put it in soil. I might take it to the greenhouse so it can get well established. Other than that, guys, honestly, it's been hard to keep up because my trees are so spread out, and that was my mistake, because I had plans of putting them in the ground, and then I changed my mind, and then going back and forth. So thankfully right here there's water that I can water these. There's water over there. The 2 trees that are over there, I need to bring them closer to us and just start putting them in one location so I have easy access to them, and I'm able to water them and protect them and give them the nurture that they need until I put them in the ground, or I pot them. Alright guys, if you made it this far, I'm gonna give you guys some tips that you need if you are already growing trees in containers and what you need to do in this month. First of all, you need to fertilize this month. It's very, very important that you guys fertilize, because remember, the only resource that your plants have is what's in the container, and by this time I'm sure all the nutrients have washed out of the container. So make sure that you guys fertilize. 2, make sure that as the temperature starts to change that you guys are watering with more consistency, especially when it starts to flower, because when it flowers, if the plant is dehydrated, it's going to drop its flowers to preserve all the energy and the hydration that the tree has. Okay, all right, that's 2 things. 3, now that it's gonna start warming up, I hope you can hear me through this wind, I'm so sorry. Now that it starts warming up, you guys need to make sure more than ever that all your trees have adequate mulch. Now I know mulch can be expensive, especially the one that is not from the big box stores and it's not dyed with color. So go get some leaves, go to the park, go pick up some pine needles. I love pine needles as mulch, and do whatever you can. As long as you have a good thick layer, like this is not good enough. I need to add a bigger layer of mulch, because look, right here, I'm gonna show you guys. Right there is dry. If I move leaves from right here, it's moist. So it makes a huge difference. Even if it's a little bit of leaves, it helps preserve the moisture in the soil. So those are the 3 tips I want to give you guys today for the month of March. If you made it this far, give me some thumbs up. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. Hit the notification so you guys can get more videos like this, and also leave me a comment with a big smile so I know you made it this far. Some thumbs up. Well guys, like always, thank you for coming along, watching this video, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. Bye bye.